The Daily Diamond Dash all around Major League Baseball live right here on this Thursday on the early line. In Cincinnati, we begin between the Reds and the Phils. The Philadelphia Phillies off to a really strong start this year, DRS, and booked as a road favorite yesterday in the Great American Ballpark, but it did not go their way. They had won 7 straight. Prior to this set in Cincinnati, the Reds have taken the first 2. Cincy winning yesterday at home, 7-4 over the Phils, again, as that slight home underdog in the Great American Ballpark.
Bryce Harper on paternity leave here, and certainly that offense isn't being helped out by him missing in the lineup. But also, I tell you what doesn't help out. After Nick Castellanos, who is a full-time starter, bats in the cleanup hole with Merrifield, Sosa, Pache, Rojas, and Stubbs were the remaining parts of the lineup for the Phillies. So it looks like one of those games like, hey, let the young guys get out there and see what happens. Next had a 3-1 lead yesterday going into the 6th inning, or after the top half of the 6th inning. They give up 4 runs there. But I got to tell you, the bright spot again, typically is the Philadelphia Phillies starting pitchers. The day before Sanchez was on the mound, he didn't technically get lit up, gave up a lot of runs, but they were unearned runs. You take a look at yesterday, Turnbull was on the mound, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, outdeals Lodolo, who had 5 innings pitched and 3 earned runs. You're supposed to win that game, but the bullpen failed the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday. It's a long season. The Phillies dropped to 15-10, and the Reds are a decent home ball club as well, now sitting at 9-6 overall. Good comeback by the Reds yesterday, but the Phillies probably feel like they let one slip away in a game where they weren't putting their best lineup out there and were trying to get a victory. Weren't able to do so.
The Reds 14-10, 9-6 at home in Cincy. The Phils, as DRS mentioned, still 15-10 to start off this year. Alec Boehm got off to a great start for Philadelphia. He hit both RBIs that scored the opening 2 runs of the game for Philly. 7-4, really back and forth momentum throughout this game in Cincinnati. But ultimately, it wasn't until that final run scored by Cincy that the game was at its largest margin, 3 in favor of the Reds. Next up, we go to Atlanta, where it took extra innings and a RBI there. I'm forgetting his name. Michael Harris, thank you. Game-winning RBI double that scored Ronald Acuna Jr. that give the Braves the win, 4-3 over the lowly Miami Marlins. Atlanta was a -270 favorite. Wild play in the top of the 9th. Errors leading to 2 runs for the Fish that tied the game at 3 apiece to send it to those extra frames. But in the bottom of the 10th, again, the RBI double for Michael Harris II, scores Ronald Acuna Jr. Game decided. Atlanta wins 4-3 in extras.
Yeah, Ronaldo Lopez, how about that? 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run for the Braves, where you're looking for some of these other guys that you didn't anticipate to start the season being full-time pitchers. The Braves are getting by, 17-6 now. And also, you're right about that. Top of the 9th inning, you do see that the Marlins tied that game up. Quite frankly, they probably should have taken the lead if they just got some more solid at-bats behind it. Weren't able to do so, go to extras, and in the top of the 10th inning, when you don't score, you're probably going to take a loss because the home team's going to be like, you know what? Let's just move the runner from second to third base and deal with that here. I have a different strategy I would like to use, and I understand that we have a 162-game schedule. You don't want to play the long game as the road team. You're looking to say, let's score 2 runs here because then the home team's probably only going to score 1. I get that, but Marlins lose yesterday, 6-20, Ben, on the season.
Oof. Yeah. Not a good year for Miami at this moment. Now we go, or Atlanta at this moment, I should say, 17-6. The team that we expected to be one of the best in the bigs is exactly that. The best record as of this moment on win percentage in all of MLB. 17-6, .739 win percentage for Atlanta. But entering yesterday at 17-6, the best record belonged to the Cleveland Guardians. But they got blanked at home. 8-0 by the Boston Red Sox. A huge game for Boston at the Dish as the Red Sox win 8-0. They win outright as a very short underdog in Cleveland. The Guardians -124 entering. They had won 8 of their last 9 entering yesterday's game against the Sox, and that was their 6th game against Boston this year. Cleveland has still won 4 of the 6, but the Red Sox get their 2nd win against the Guardians.
How about Connor Wong yesterday? 4 of 4, 3 RBI with 2 home runs yesterday. And also, Rafael Devers lifted his average to 231. Hasn't had a great season by any stretch, but went 3 for 4 yesterday with 2 RBI shots. Boston now 14-11 in a stacked American League East. But the Guardians, look, understand it. It's a long season. You're 17-6. Tough scene to get beat 8-0 at home here by the Boston Red Sox, not envisioning them making the playoffs. We're talking about the Red Sox, but the Guardians, good ball club here, just didn't work out in their favor yesterday. They got hammered. It is what it is.
17-7 for Cleveland, but still the best mark in the American League Central. And the Guardians now an even money favorite to win the AL Central because the team that entered the year as the favorites to win this division, who did a season ago, the Minnesota Twins, off to a sluggish start. Despite winning 3 straight games, the Twins still 10-13. But as we keep our focus on the American League Central, one of those surprising teams at the top, the Kansas City Royals. Now 15-10 this year, 5 games above 500 as they get a victory yesterday at home, despite being an underdog 3-2 over Toronto. 15-10 for KC, a young club that has shown an optimistic beginning to this 2024 Major League Baseball campaign.
Let's take a look at two sides of the equation for Kansas City. Yesterday, I liked RBI props there for Bobby Witt Jr. He cashed one in, and also Salvador Perez. He cashed one in. But it's also the lineup where you say the young guys, Bobby Witt Jr. hitting 317 on the season in the 2-hole here. Salvador Perez is close to 40 years old. He's hitting 348 this season after a night we're in 2 of 3. And my only error last night, if there ever was one, I needed Perez to get 2 RBI last night, Ben. I had the perfect situation. 2nd and 3rd with 1 out here as Salvador Perez comes to the plate. And you know what happens when hitters are hot. They walk them to first base. I didn't even get a chance to swing the bat last night, get a ground out, and get that 2nd RBI. Tough scene all the way around, but I like what I see out of Kansas City here. 15-10 on the season. If anybody entered this, hey, look, Kansas City's 5 games over 500. Like, what are they, 6-1 after the first 7 games? They got lucky? No. After 25 games, 15-10. It's a good performance for the Royals out there.
And when you look at the division, Kansas City's still the 4th best price out of 5. Now, the White Sox are super long at 500 to 1, but KC plus 550, still $4.50 behind the Cleveland Guardians, but they're only behind Cleveland by 2.5 games, still a very long way to go in this Major League Baseball season. Salvi, by the way, isn't all that close to 40. He's only 33 years old, but still the second most. No, 33. Wow. He was born in 1990.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I read that wrong.
Yeah,
he looks
put some respect on
45.
Yeah. Come on, man. Second most RBIs in Major League Baseball, 23 for Salvador Perez. More MLB recaps up next. Something is happening to the Houston Astros, and it is not good for a team that has reached the American League Championship Series 7 consecutive seasons. It's not May, although it's pretty close to the calendar changing to a new month. But Houston continues to struggle. Yesterday against the Cubs, who scored all 4 of their runs in the bottom of the first and then just held on against the Astros in Wrigley, Chicago gets a 4-3 win over Houston. The Astros, Donnie, the American League pennant favorites entering this season, are now 7-18, second worst record in the American League. Nobody is going to be as bad as the Chicago White Sox, who are 3-21, but the 4th worst record around all of MLB. What is up with Houston?
Look, I put a tweet out yesterday. It's time, Houston Astros. Let's get back to the basics here. And I don't mean like, okay, let's bunt, let's hit with power, let's, move runners along. I mean, let's get back to cheating here. That's what got us world championships, Ben. And specifically yesterday, the reason I felt obligated to put that out is, look, Reggie Bush cheated and got his Heisman Trophy back. Houston Astros, cheat and get your World Series championship back. It's so easy to do. Put the butt right here. Look, beep, 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 beep. Fastball coming in. Let's win baseball games, Astros. Come on.
Okay, so a couple of things there because you brought up Reggie Bush and you tried to equivocate it. And I was on my flight yesterday returning from London back here stateside when that update came through and I finally got some Wi-Fi and I was about 3-4 hours late. I'm like, oh, my God. Reggie Bush got his Heisman back? That is fantastic, especially in this current climate of the NIL era of collegiate athletics. Reggie Bush didn't cheat to enhance his on-field performance. An agent of sorts had some stipends or some cars or some gifts to his family. Very different than a team that had a sophisticated signal system to cheat and enhance its on-field performance, which is proven, of course. However, although I'm not an Astros defender, they have also proven they can win at the highest level, even without cheating in place, as they did a season ago and a season prior to that in winning a World Series. Now, for the Astros this year, it's been a struggle despite Jose Altuve, who homered again in the top of the ninth to make it a one-run game and make things interesting inside the friendly confines. He's batting .350 this year. He's doing all that he can. But the Astros are struggling. The Chicago Cubs are not. 9-3 right now at Wrigley, 15-9 to begin this season. Now a central focus in the National League. The Pirates hosting the Brewers yesterday. Pittsburgh had lost 6 straight games entering this 4-game set during the midweek against Milwaukee. They won the first 2. Milwaukee made sure they would not get swept yesterday on the road in PNC. A 3-2 victory for the Brew Crew over the Buccos. So Milwaukee gets its first victory of this series. All 5 runs in the game scored in the 3rd inning. Milwaukee plated 3 in the top of that frame. The Pirates answered with 2 in the bottom of the 3rd, but that was it. And Milwaukee holds on for a 3-2 win.
Yeah, bullpen game effort out of both of these teams. You take a look at the starters here. Ben Wilson goes 4.1 innings here. You got Fleming there, 2 1/3 innings. So it was the bullpen holding on. The Brewers technically are a better club than the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates got out to that hot start here. Now we're seeing them cool off just a bit at 13-12. But expectations are the Brewers should have won that baseball game yesterday, and they did. But I love the fact that you see teams like the Brewers on the road, Ben, 11-4. That's awesome, man. If you handle your business on the road and just basically play 500 baseball, you're probably going to get into the playoffs, let alone playing at a clip of first 15 games on the road. We got 11 of them. That's pretty good here for the Brewers.
So with the victory yesterday, Milwaukee is a half game in front of Chicago for that top spot in the NL Central, 15-8. The Cubbies 15-9. The Reds 14-10. The Pirates, despite now dropping 7 of their last 9, are still above 500 at 13-12 in the preseason favorite to win this division. The Redbirds are struggling. They have dropped, or they are 3 games below 500 at 11-14. St. Louis, again, entered this MLB season as the favorites to win the NL Central, but we expected the division to be somewhat competitive. St. Louis right now, plus 320. The Cubbies, the favorites, at plus 185.
Yeah, I don't think anybody runs away here. And it's similar, Ben, that when you take a look at the central divisions in both the American League and the National League, somebody has to win that, which means somebody's going to have home field advantage in round number 1 of the playoffs. So when you see some of those price points like, ooh, they seem like they're a little bit bloated here. Yeah, because they are going to get a team into the playoffs. Now, who knows what wins, but typically it's the Milwaukee Brewers. Right. Starting pitching, great bullpen, timely hitting, and that's what get it done here. But it's good here for the Cubs. But also keep in mind, Bellinger goes to the IL, I believe, with a cracked rib here. So maybe some of that momentum might slow down. But like what the Cubs are doing.